couple of the board members appear to be like Kilroy was here. Just their eyes.
Just so you know, I don't have any paperwork in front of me. So if there's numbers that go with each one of these situations, I don't have them. I know Mr. Vincent is first on the list, but I don't have the code numbers that go with his particular situation. Do we have it on my telephone? No, it's not on there. No, it's. Mhm.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And Ms. Cornell, we are all ready.
Thank you. It's 6:30 p.m. on August 3rd, 2020, calling to order the meeting of the Heritage Board in Tarpon Springs. And would we have a roll call, please?
Miss Milford? Absent. Miss Cornell?
Here.
Miss Hallett?
You're muted, ma'am.
Here.
Okay. Mr. Sprecher? Miss Ryan?
Here.
Mr. Mrozensky?
Here.
All right, thank you. Would you please read the minutes of the previous meeting?
This will be approval of minutes for the May 4th, 2020 meeting.
I move
Is there-
to approve the minutes.
Was that Miss Hallett?
Yes. I know, I'm just eyes. I don't know why.
All right.
Taller?
Are you recommending approval of the minutes?
Yes.
Is there a second to that?
I can second it.
All right, thank you. Roll call, approval?
Mr. Mrozensky?
Yeah, I have a comment. There's a typo that we probably need to change. It mentions that it met in regular session at City Hall Auditorium on January 13th. So I think that should be noted, that date is wrong, and before we approve it, it should probably be changed or put into the motion to be changed.
So noted. Approval of the minutes with the correction?
Oh, I move to approve the minutes with the correction of
Is that seconded?
I can second it.
Okay, so Mr. Mrozensky,
Yes.
excuse me, Miss Ryan,
Yes.
Miss Hallett,
Yes.
Miss Cornell.
Yes. All right, now, the first item on the agenda is Mr. Vincent. Vincent with a, I don't have the number before me. I'm away from my paperwork.
We will have the attorney read the quasi judicial announcement first.
Okay, yes.
Good evening. This is a quasi-judicial proceeding where the Heritage Preservation Board acts in a quasi-judicial rather than a legislative capacity. At a quasi-judicial hearing, it is not the board's function to make law, but rather to apply law that has already been established. In a quasi-judicial hearing, the board is required to, is required by law to make findings of fact based upon the evidence presented at the hearing, and apply those findings of fact to previously established criteria in order to decision regarding the blatantly evidence of this hearing that the law considered competent, substantial, and relevant to the issues. If the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has met the criteria established in the Code of Ordinance, then the board is required by law to find in favor of the applicant. By the same token, if the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has failed to meet the criteria established in the Code of Ordinance, then the board is required by law to find against the applicant. Are there any members of the board wishing to disclose any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest this evening?
No.
Okay, seeing none, as we are holding a virtual meeting, I will take each applicant in turn and swear them individually. And at this time, any members of staff wishing to speak, if you could please raise your right hand, as well as any of the applicants, if you could please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. And then the first application, I'll go ahead and help you out, Madam Chairman, excuse me. The first application is application 20-83, 456 East Tarpon Avenue, addition of a handicap access ramp at a contributing property. In the staff report?
Yes, and I'd like to share my screen. I'm going to be showing a PowerPoint. And this is something hopefully we'll be doing going forward. So just to hit the highlights of the staff report and to show a few graphics and pictures. So as we go forward, let me know, give me some feedback on this approach to staff presentations and let me know what you think of that. So I'm going to share my screen now. And let's see. Okay. Hopefully you can see slideshow that says Heritage Preservation Board.
Yes, we can see it.
All
Yes.
right. So this is application 20-83 for addition of a handicapped access ramp at the Vincent Funeral Home located at 456 East Tarpon Avenue. And this is a contributing structure and it's masonry vernacular. This is just a quick picture of the structure itself. This is a large building, masonry, vernacular, constructed of reticulated block. Unfortunately, the day I was there, they had the scaffolding up. They're doing quite a bit of work on the building to kind of restore some of the elements. I'm sure that the applicant would be able to tell you about that if you're interested. As you can see, there is a main concrete wide walk entrance up to the steps. There's just 2 steps up to the porch, and that is the area we're going to be looking at here. So the applicant has submitted a site plan schematic showing the addition of a walkway and handicap access ramp at the front of this property, with the walkway wrapping around to the side and the ramp going up on the side of the property.
Does the applicant have anything to offer, to say?
Yes, ma'am. This location was selected because we've looked at all the other locations, and the ramp would have to be extremely long, different slopes, and this is where it's gives access to both the main building and also to the chapel, which is to the right, not in your picture that you're looking at. So it's gives equal access to either building, and all on the front of the buildings rather than having it around the back of the building.
Have there been any reports of anybody complaining or having negative in feedback as to this ramp?
Are you back to, I'm sorry, are you back to staff presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
If I mix it up a little bit, it's because I'm new at this, but go ahead.
That's all right. Let me flip through the rest of my slides real quick, and then we'll get to that. But as far as scale, your staff report provides detail on that. The main message here from staff is that we feel, although this ramp is proposed at the front of the property, the scale of the property, the low elevation, and the fact that it wraps around the side kind of mitigates for that. The applicant has also submitted a statement that's in your packet that entry from the rear or putting access from the rear is not practical and not appropriate because of the route that the person would have to take. This is just a couple of more shots showing the concrete material. The ramp is going to be concrete and the rails are going to be metal, very simple rails. Property owners were notified within 500 feet. We did receive 1 response in support of the application, and staff is recommending approval of this application with a condition that the applicant is just responsible for obtaining all required permits. And you could go to applicant presentation at this point if you wish, and in the meantime, I'd be glad to answer any questions you have.
Does anyone on the board have any questions for this applicant?
I guess I had a quick one. Was there a ramp already existing, and is this replacing one that was in a different location, or is this the first time there will be a ramp there?
This is the first time there will be a ramp on the premises. So it's something that's been long needed, and a lot of consideration has been given to the different locations that we could put one, and just none of them were very practical. And while we're doing the renovations now, this was the appropriate time to include the ramp to improve access for handicapped folks.
Thank you.
It's long overdue, and we're just happy to be getting that done at this point.
Mr. Vincent, is there a opening at the top of the ramp to go either way to the chapel or to the main building?
Yes, ma'am. The ramp will come into the walkway, And at the top of that ramp, we'll be able to go to the right to the chapel or to the left over to the main building, all on same level.
Oh, that's great. Mhm.
All right. Is there a proposal for accepting this amendment or whatever?
Approving the application.
Proposal to approve.
You know, you have to put up with, okay,
I approve
good, good for you.
this CA 20-83, 456 East Tarpon Avenue as presented.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Roll call?
I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt. Did we call for public comment on this?
Oh, no, we didn't.
Probably
Right.
not. Is there a
Okay.
public comment?
Yeah, so before we make the motion and close the public hearing, we need to make sure that we call for public comment on the application.
Thank you.
Of course.
I call for public comment. With no.
Well, maybe I should, could I chime in for a moment? I'm not sure. This is Ed Hoffman Architects. I'm not sure that I'm public or I was helped Mr. Vinson with the preparation of these drawings and the design.
Yeah,
And
Ed, what I would say is I think you were sworn in. If
yes,
you are, and there wasn't really an applicant presentation, if you'd like to do a short one or say something, I would say, Mr. Vinson, would you please go ahead and authorize Ed to speak on your behalf because we do not have an affidavit.
Okay, yes, he certainly is authorized to speak on my behalf.
And I would like to make a comment. We do have a motion and a second on the table. We do, for procedural reasons, whoever made the motion, if you could just withdraw that motion at this time so that we can move on to complete the public hearing. And then once the public hearing is closed, we can someone can move for another motion.
Thank
I
you.
withdraw motion of, I gotta look, 20-83.
Okay, motion is withdrawn. And Mr. Hoffman, if you'd like to proceed with any presentation you have on behalf of the applicant.
okay, well, I actually, most of what needs to be said has been said. Obviously, these are two different types of buildings. Of course, one's very historic. The other one, though, is mid-century and also a very worthy piece of architecture. And I think this connection now makes it accessible to both, as Mr. Vinson said. It's also around the side. So, I mean, typically you don't want to put a handicap ramp right in the front of an important piece of architecture, historic architecture in particular. But in this situation, where even though you enter in the walkway of the front of the funeral home, you're directed around to the side of the porch so that it's not from the street. It's not an invasive kind of a thing. So anyway, I think staff has made a good report on it, and so anyway, it's a building that I've known since since your applicant was in diapers. So anyway, thank you all very much.
Okay, can I make that motion again?
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. All right.
Wait.
Is there a proposal for acceptance of this?
At this point, we do not want to call for a motion. We need to ask for public comment, either for or against the application.
Is there a public comment on this issue?
We do have one raised hand in the public. I'll allow them in.
If not,
Miss
then
Lucianne, you are now able to talk if you would like to submit your public comment.
Yes, Lucianne Robinson, 948 Bayshore Drive.
Ms. Robinson, if I could, I do apologize. If I could just swear you in before we begin. Do you
Sure.
swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Go ahead.
My family owns one of the residential properties immediately across the street from the Vinson lots. we are in absolute support of this project. The ADA ramp is in the sight line of our front porch, and we find it completely compatible with the neighborhood, the structure, and the way we would like to see the neighborhood continue to improve as part of the historic district.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
At this time, we do not have any other raised hands.
Then is it submitted? Kathy?
Okay, I'll try again. I approve let me see. I can't even remember what to say. Approval of the 20-83 456 East Tarpon Avenue.
Is there a second to this?
Once again, I'll second that motion.
Roll call?
Mr. Mrozinski,
Yes.
Ms. Ryan,
Yes.
Ms. Hallett,
Yes.
Ms. Cornell.
Yes. All right. The ayes have it. Second on the agenda is the number, please.
20-84.
Thank you. Pat?
Okay.
I'm happy to make the announcement. The application 20-84, 121 North Gross Avenue, replace windows and install a new door on a contributing structure. And we can have the staff report.
All right, I will once again share my screen. Oh, hopefully. All right. Okay. Hopefully you can see that.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, this is application 2084 for Edward and Maria Schultz for a property at 121 North Gross Avenue. This is a contributing property, frame vernacular style residence. And this is a proposal to replace 6 windows and 1 door on the contributing structure. This is just a front shot of the structure. It's a frame vernacular. It has some basically features of the craftsman style, the wide eaves and open braces, the porch kind of configuration are reminiscent of the craftsman style. The applicant wants to replace the 4 front windows, and then there's a dormer on each, there's a casement window on each side of this dormer. They want to replace all those windows. That's a total of 6. And then they want to replace this door with a window. So again, 2 windows to on each side here, and then the door in the middle. And then this is just a shot I tried to get of one of the casement windows. There's one on each side of this dormer. As for the house itself, it currently has a mix of window types, window materials really. It has both metal and wood windows replaced at various times. And I don't really have a count of exactly how many of each are on the structure. You can see some that are obvious metal. So it's got both types. Basically, with respect to your review criteria, the applicant proposes size for size window replacement with the same style, which is the 1/1 simple style, which is reminiscent of one of the craftsman type features. So that is proposed. The applicant has not stated anything about the window surrounds. So, wood surrounds, it is assumed, would be staying undisturbed and would be repaired and maintained as needed. So an approval of this project, staff would recommend that condition. The applicant has proposed replacement with vinyl and has submitted 3 pictures of the window condition from the inside showing caulking and some termite damage. The applicant also proposes to replace the door with a window. The door, as you can see, is in the middle. The door and this balcony feature were added in the 1990s. They're not original to the structure. So they are really, I mean, they're not a terrible addition, but they're not appropriate to the style. So it's difficult to say whether this opening existed as a window previously. I tend to think it did. If you look at other buildings of this style, you usually get a row of windows in this long type of dormer that's almost the width of the structure. So the applicant has proposed to replace this with a window, but there is no detail on whether that would be a replacement in the full opening once the door is removed, or whether it would be a restoration of the opening that matches the adjacent windows with restoration of the novelty siding underneath. So that's something we need to clarify with the applicant. They are proposing 1/1 pane for that opening. Here's some of the pictures of the door deterioration. Apparently there are issues with some water damage caused by that placement of that door. Either choice for replacement, staff would recommend that the surrounding trim and details of the surrounds for the window replacement match those of the adjacent windows. Right now, they're just kind of pieces, looks like pieces of plywood kind of stuck on there in the pictures. So we would recommend replacing that as part of the project. These are just the schematics sketches that the window installer provided for both the single 1/1 vinyl window and the vinyl casement window replacement. So staff has put recommended conditions in your staff report as a condition of approval. I would say overall staff feels that the proposed project is consistent with the style, the fenestration, the preservation of the look of the structure. The applicant has provided information about deterioration of the windows. It's not extensive information. There's no information about whether the windows are operable or how much termite damage there is, but there is damage. So, and these windows are on the 2nd floor. So this could be approved, but you may want to ask the applicant whether they evaluated restoration of the wood windows. And if it's approved, staff is recommending 3 conditions. Condition 1 would be that the applicant is responsible for obtaining all required permits. Condition 2 would be that all existing window surrounds, including frames, trim, and sills, shall be retained and shall not be disturbed beyond normal repair and maintenance. A 3rd condition, I've given you 2 alternatives. If there's alternative condition 1, where replacement in the same size, design, and configuration as the adjacent windows with frame, trim, and sill of wood material matching on the design of those windows, and with restoration of the wood novelty siding beneath the window to match and blend with the existing siding. That condition would be appropriate if the applicant wants to match the existing windows and fill in that lower portion. If they want to put a window the same size as the existing door, the condition would be replacement in the same size as the current door opening with frame, trim, and sill of wood material matching the design of the adjacent windows. Are there any questions?
Is the applicant on? I do have a few questions, but I figured they
Yep.
might need to fill in
Yep.
some blanks.
Yep.
Yep, I'm here.
A couple of the questions that Ms. McNeese put forth about the door replacement, is that going to be the same size as the opening, or is it going to be the same size as the other 4 windows?
Yeah, no, it's going to match the other windows.
So then you'll end up having to replace the siding below and then match the trim on all 5 windows so that they're all the same?
Yes, we'll try and restore the frame. If we have to replace it, it'll be the same size and look.
And then the only concern that I have is we're adding a 3rd type of window. So you're going to have a wood window, an aluminum window, and now a vinyl window.
Yeah, we're working to do all the vinyl, but you know, it takes time. It's a process.
Are you replacing these with, the reason I'm asking is is it window for window? They're not impact windows, they're just regular windows?
Yes, just
So-
regular.
So then, because I think it's 20% a year you can replace, or every 2 years that route. So it will take you several years to do that.
Yeah, he measured everything and that was right. That was how many windows I can get to meet the 20%.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
Since the balcony was added in 1990, are you going to remove that when you close off that door?
Yeah, I think we are looking into that. I mean, I like the way it looks, but it is causing some issues, I think, with roof leaking. So it'd probably be better anyway to remove the railings.
Okay.
But we have a claim right now for the roof. So it won't be at the time that the window goes in. We're waiting on that claim.
Okay.
Removing that would be a separate issue from putting in a new window.
Yes,
It would have to be addressed at another time.
yes,
Yeah.
but it is in the
The
works.
side window. Okay, the side windows, will they be the same as they are now? I mean, you
No.
listed 6 windows, 4 in front and 2 on the sides. Are those windows going to be changed, the side windows?
Yes, they're going to be the same size, but that kind of opening wasn't possible. It's going to be casement windows, but the same size.
I have a question too.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I understand why you're using vinyl. I'm personally not a big fan of that as a being historically appropriate. Did you look into inserts, wood inserts to fit the openings that you have right now, or are they so far gone? Or did you look into any other options other than vinyl?
There is too much termite damage. And Henry, are you there?
We do have a Henry that is in the public attendance.
Oh, okay. Can you answer that, Henry? I think he had said vinyl's the
Yeah, if Henry will
most
be
energy
speaking-
efficient.
Yes, if
I'm
he's
here.
speaking, excuse me, if he's speaking on your behalf, he's not on your affidavit, so you need to authorize him and he needs to be sworn in.
Oh, okay, I authorize him.
And Henry, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank
Yes,
you.
and give us your full name, please.
Henry K. Hasbun Martinez.
Okay,
So on behalf of Ms. Schultz, yeah, I did take a look at the sills and there was a lot of damage. She had, if you had looked at the photos that Ms. Neese had shown in her presentation, she was having to actually put some type of insulation just to keep them to stay closed. And then when you look at some of the other photos that she had presented, Ms. Niece had presented as well, the corners were pretty far gone and deep with termite damage. And when we looked at that, it was replacing it just, with vinyl or something that, where we're going to be able to not have that problem going forward for her. Since there was some water damage as well, that is seeming that it was coming from the roof. And then us being able to go back in there and insulate everything properly and do a full replacement would take care of the issue for her.
And I understand that, certainly. And that wasn't exactly my question. Whatever sort of window you would put back in, be it wood, fiberglass, or vinyl, you would be doing that removal of all the bad wood anyway, correct?
Correct.
All right. So you'd be starting with a blank canvas, which means you could use any type of window material that you would want to. So basically my question was, did you look into those other options, and why did you decide, other than what you just told me about energy efficiency? But I think we all know that wood windows can be just as efficient or more so than vinyl.
Okay, I did not look into any other windows because this is a really bad area, I'm sure you know, for termites, which we had the house tented before we moved here in 2013, and we have them again. So.
And I can add to the wood thing. The cost of an actual wood replacement window most of the time is significantly more. So on when we're looking at trying to replace and keep everything looking traditional, and I understand preserving, as many wood windows as you can, but with how many of the mix that we had in her home being aluminum and wood, it ultimately would be, kind of defeating the purpose, since, some before even she had moved in were already replaced into aluminum and just was really thrown off. So we're trying to get a symmetry throughout the house with something that's going to last and not cause problems and have to keep going through this, so that was kind of where it came down to vinyl being the best solution to not keep having any problem going forward.
And I certainly understand that. So thanks for your answer. I have another quick one. Do we have any historic photos of this house?
I haven't seen any.
Pre 1990? Because I'm not so sure that there was a window in the center there. And the only reason I'm throwing that out is if you look at the front of the photograph of the front of the building, they're actually not equally spaced. The door on either side of the door is wider than between the adjacent windows. So I don't know if when they built it, they would have put a window in the middle, not equally spaced like the other. I'm like that. I see these things.
Yeah, you're fine.
I guess I'm just not sure. And I'm not saying not to put a window there. I'm just saying that I'm not 100% sure that there would have been a window there, which is why, or a window that matches the others. Maybe it was an oval, maybe it was another casement or an awning window. I have no idea. That's why I asked if there were any historic photos of the property.
I don't have any myself.
I have a question. When was the house built?
Pardon me?
When was the house built?
1914.
How old is it? Okay. And does a center window configure with the interior layout of the house?
Good question.
Yes, the actually
many of the older homes.
Yeah,
many of the older homes have 2 bedrooms on either side with a hall with a window. Does this configure with that? Does that explain why the proportion between the side windows and the center window is off a little?
I don't know. It's in our bedroom right now. So I don't know how they had it, but it looked like it was a sitting porch on either side at one point. But if I can also add, the only, like, I do really like the door there. It's nice for decorating purposes, but the only reason I'm switching to a window is because the grade isn't high enough, and it continues to cause, even though the roof was repaired just a couple years ago, it continues to cause leaking because the grade is flat. And then it's splashing into the house and causing the wood rot.
Well, for the preservation of the house, that makes sense.
Can you confirm how many awning windows are going in?
In the front, there
No.
would be a total of 5.
Okay, so there's 5 and then there's an awning window on one side or on both sides?
Casement. They would be casements. Yeah, you'd have 2 there right now. They're essentially they are awnings right now, but there's for size you can't do an awning. You can do a casement though, which gives the same look of essentially a solid piece of glass.
I misspoke, Henry. I meant casement. I'm just trying to figure out the count. How many total are you guys changing?
Yeah, so it would be a total of 5 single hung windows, all matching up in the front of the home, replacing the door, and then you'd have the one on each side, on the left and on the right of the home, that would have the casements.
So 7 total.
Correct.
And the ones on the first floor, are those wood windows that are in the screened-in porch area?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are they in good shape, or are they?
Those we'd want to be doing soon as well, because the ones to the left of the home, those were switched out as well, because I could tell that there was damage that there had been before, and that's why those were switched to aluminum windows. And that same damage is correlated with those windows up in the front. So that's something that we had spoken with Ms. Schultz to address later on, doing steps by steps though, and addressing the main areas that, she has no functioning windows, which were upstairs in that area, since those downstairs were still able to slightly move and still kind of function.
Are there any other questions from the board? Are there any comments from the public?
We have no other raised hands at this time.
Can I have another quick question?
Sure.
Sure.
Maria,
Yes.
you said that door is in your bedroom,
Yes.
so you don't need a little more wall space in that bedroom instead of another window? If that middle door was just closed off with matching siding? Silly question, but you live there, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, wouldn't it look?
You have to think about it a lot.
I have to think about whether it looks good from out there, having just 4 windows.
Well, I personally think that's the way it was probably built, but I
Oh.
don't know for sure. That's just my opinion. I've seen a
Yeah.
lot of houses like this, and they don't always have windows going all the way across.
Oh.
Yeah, I've seen ways as well.
Well, actually, now that I think about it, I'd like the window there because it goes all the way to the back and it's a nice cross breeze. So you don't have that without that window.
Fair enough.
It's hard to
And I
imagine
think
what it
on-
would look like with just 4 windows.
And our judgment, I think, is based on what we see from the outside.
Right.
Right. Would that look weird?
Are there any other comments from the staff?
No.
Are there any comments from the public?
Just one last one that, yeah, if you were to replace that door, we would be making sure that everything matches perfectly across the electrical. So just wanted to address that as well, so that there was no concern that things would be off. We would make sure the siding's all done properly and correct, and also with keeping everything level and across. So the sight line all across the board from the front of the home would be all correct.
Thank you.
Hey, Pat, the application does state 6 windows. There's 7.
Right, six
Six
windows
and a door.
Gonna go to a window.
And yeah,
Yeah, so that's a total of 7.
Yeah, that did sound funny, like I was replacing the door with another door. So yeah, it is 7 windows.
And Henry, you feel you're going to be able to match that siding? I doubt that that's available anymore. So will you be able to replicate that? And when you do, you're not going to just have a seam going down. You're going to have to remove some of the siding so you could sort of stagger it. Is that what you had in mind?
yeah. Our owner is going to, once we have the approval, make the best decision when it comes down to that. We're not going to want to have any lines showing, obviously, to keep everything looking clean across the board. And you know, we want to be able to have clean lines all the way across to be able to not have any problems with how you know, siding should be installed properly. So the proper way to do it would be, you know, replacing as much as we could to be able to have a good look and not any lines that just pop out of anywhere. You know, so if we needed to, we would, you know, take it as far as going all the way across.
And you feel you'll be able to replicate that that siding?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's products out there that that imitate, you know, classic siding like that very, very well. So that's something that we can take care of. We've done vertical siding, huge, you know, 4-foot vertical siding on homes before, and this is something that we can take care of. It's not anything that's not out of our reach.
And obviously it'll be wood. You're not going to use hardy board or anything. It'll be wood.
Oh, we can use wood siding.
I think it'll have to be
At the
custom
moment,
cut.
What do you mean we could use wood siding? Are you using wood siding, or were you thinking of something else?
No, wasn't thinking of anything else.
The proposal before the board is for the windows. If at some future point they're going to change the siding or adjust the siding, that would be another issue that would have to be brought before the board that has not been proposed at this moment.
Well, if you put a smaller window in, there's going to be siding, so it'll have to be repaired. It will be wood, and they will probably have to use like a miter or router to custom cut that wood to match the rest.
And that is addressed in the suggested staff condition.
It is, yeah.
So it is part of this application.
It is.
That's- yes.
Thank you. I've been waiting a long time for this.
Are there any comments from the staff anymore?
No.
Any comments from the public?
We have no raised hands at this time.
Is there a proposal for approval?
I propose to approve the 20-84-121 North Gross Avenue as presented.
Could you please specify
Second.
the conditions that you wish to accept?
Oh, yes, with the condition of the door that should match the pre-hung windows. I don't, windows on the other side, on either side of the door. The door should be matching of all the windows across the top.
Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second if I can just, so citing that the trim matches and the siding match, I will
Yeah.
say.
Valid point. Oh, roll call?
Mr. Mrozinski,
I was afraid you were going to ask me first. Yes.
Ms. Ryan.
Yeah.
Ms. Hallett,
Yes.
Ms. Cornell.
Yes. At this point, the motion has been approved.
Thank you.
Are there any other issues to be brought before the board at this point?
No, the next agenda item is staff comments.
No staff comments.
Then I will adjourn the meeting.
If there's no board comments,
Are there no board comments?
Actually, yes, it's maybe more of a question for the attorney. This came up at, I don't remember if it was the last meeting or the one before, that the board members cannot go to the site before this meeting to actually look at the project. That to me makes no sense.
so that is not entirely true. It is recommended that you do not make site visits. One, because whatever you see there, you are not supposed to consider and bring back to the board. You are not to discuss it in front of the board, because if you do discuss what you saw at the site, you are now presenting evidence, and you are not technically, you are not very specifically supposed to be presenting evidence, as you are the adjudicator. Acting in a quasi-judicial fashion, you sit in the seat of a judge. So judges don't go out and look at things and come back and opine on things. They are not, that's not what their job is. That's not what your job is. So you can, nothing is preventing you from going out and looking at the house, but your decision is to be based solely on the evidence that's presented to you at the hearing, not on outside information. Just as like you're not supposed to be Googling anything or looking at anything that's not otherwise presented by the applicant. The applicant bears that burden. So while it is not specifically prohibited, we can't stop you from doing it. It is highly, highly disfavored and not recommended, because if you do go out and you look at the house and you come back and you say, well, when I went out there, I saw this, myself or Patrick, who's your regular board attorney, is going to tell you absolutely not. You are not to testify anything. You'd have to recuse yourself, go sit, and you can be a witness if you want to. But as the adjudicator, you don't have the ability to do so.
Okay, I understand that, but it wouldn't stop us from still going out and not telling you. And then when we come to this meeting, we could be more specific with our questions without actually saying, I was there and I looked at that. And I mean, but
you can. That's kind of an underhanded way to do it, to be very blunt. I mean, you are supposed to be only considering the evidence that's presented and that is on the record. And again, like I said, the applicant has the burden to present that evidence to you. If the evidence isn't there because the applicant hasn't done so, it's not your job to go out there and look at the property to find out and ask the probing questions to get to the evidence. They have the burden to prove that to you. If they haven't proven it to you, then you're not to approve the application. Again, I can't be your keeper and say, okay, I'm going to follow you around everywhere you go and make sure that you don't go to the site, right? You're going to do what you're going to do. But you're not supposed to be doing any independent research, and that to me would be considered independent research.
I
But
understand.
aren't we dependent on the people who are presenting this or the evaluation of the city as being accurate? And we have to accept their accuracy when it might not be accurate?
Well, again, so whatever evidence is presented to you, either through the staff report or ultimately through the applicant, because again, they are the ones that are supposed to be bringing the information to you. The staff does a very good job of researching and providing information that they have, but the burden is on the applicant to do what they are, to prove that what's being said is in fact true, or to negate it in some way by either providing witnesses, expert testimony, whatever they need to do. You as the arbiter are not supposed to go out and figure out if that information is true or not. You know, the people are giving testimony under oath. So to them, they've done their best due diligence and they are telling the truth. So it's not your job to determine whether or not they're being truthful. You can weigh their credibility if you don't think they're being truthful, but yeah, the accuracy of the information is the burden of either the staff researching the staff report or the applicant presenting the information.
Does the applicant get a copy of the staff report before they come to us so that they can review it and find fallacies?
They do.
When your packet goes out, the applicants all get their staff reports.
But the staff does go out and look.
Right, but the staff is not the one making the decisions. You as a
Right.
board are making the decisions.
So the
So we have
staff
to make that, we
is-
have to make that decision based on somebody else's estimate and judgment.
Right, well, just like a judge sits in a courtroom all day, right? Judges don't go out and investigate claims or figure out if who committed what crime. The police do that, right? Or they have private investigators or whatnot. You guys are sitting in the role of a judge. So it's your job to take all the evidence that comes in and determine whether or not it meets the criteria in the code. If it does, in your estimation, then you have to approve the application. If it doesn't, then you have to deny the application. So, you know, it's not your job to independently investigate every application that comes before you.
So if we know otherwise, we can't say?
No, because that would be considered testimony. Now you can ask probing questions to the applicant or to staff and say, could you clarify? Could you do this? And nobody's asking you to check your common sense or your expertise or knowledge at the door either. But, you know, that can be brought up in board discussion of, you know, well, you know, my understanding of this is, and I think this, but ultimately the facts that come in and the evidence that comes in is going to be coming in through the applicant or through staff.
And just if I
Well-
could add to that, that's why I would like to improve the board's experience with these presentations. That's why we're adding a slideshow, and I'd like to get your feedback, and you can email me, call me individually. But, you know, I never put pictures of the property in the staff reports up to now, right? So part of the idea is to start, that's part of the information, and the staff report's part of the information. At the risk of Erica having an issue, I'll just say with this last application, I made a conjecture in the staff report about the door, and then Mr. Mrzinski, based on his abilities, you all are on the board because of your interest in your abilities, made another kind of a guess as to what's going on with the door. But there was a picture of the door in the staff presentation, so that was part of the information. More, if there's different or more information you all would like to see as we go along, I'd like to know and try to improve that staff presentation, any information you get.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions or discussion? If not, then at 7:25, I will adjourn this meeting. And thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good
Good night.
evening.
Stay safe, everyone.